Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We are going to do some basing today. I'm going to be working on this Darth Vader from the You Cannot Run dual pack, and probably some of the Inquisitors too. I've been doing some painting for Shatterpoint lately. I've got the Fifth Brother, the Grand Inquisitor. We've got Riva and the Fourth Sister here. And also Commander Pons, who is going to work in this build for now. Maybe a Stormtrooper eventually. But we're going to do a couple of things. Now, normally for my Star Wars Shatterpoint bases, a lot of people will do the bases and they'll just paint the bases, since the bases do come pre-textured. And you can do a lot with them, especially with the Darth Vader from the You Cannot Run pack. He was heavily textured to go into this diorama, but I am choosing to kind of blend him into my own style. And for other characters, I've been getting caught up on my backlog of painting, like our clone commandos and things like that. I have been doing more, of basically this Vallejo earth texture with some grass. And so kind of green and light brown to make them work on like a lot of brown and green tabletops. But for this particular strike team right here, I want them to be a little darker, a little less grass, a little bit less growth, a little bit less living green stuff, and a little more death and decay. So there's some ideas that I have. I'm going to start with some of this, but I'm going to drop some paint in, and I want it to look a little more dead, right? And so I think that'll be a fun way to do it. Make it look a little more dead. Also, I want to bring things like skulls. And so I've got like these skulls here. I'm going to clip some of these out. I might put some grass patches, but what I'm thinking is I've got some of these leaves from Shadow's Edge miniatures they sent out. So I could drop some leaves on there. It's like they kind of represent kind of decay, right? And also they look a little red. I've got some, I think, some different colored ones too. I mean, we could still do tufts also. I could do like the dying grass tufts and things like that. I've got this color leaf too, which I've used these before. So I may do a variety of some things like that. I also have Shadow's Edge also sent out some of these red. And this isn't a paid video or whatever. I had these for a long time. I've used them in a lot of videos. But I do like to show you guys the products that I'm using. And, and also hang out and, we can chat. We'll talk about whatever's new. You guys, you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys are doing awesome. Hopefully you guys have been watching Ahsoka. It's been really, really cool show. Obviously not going to spoil too much of it. And so I'm going to mix some of this, just to get started. I'm going to take out some of this Vallejo earth texture, and I'm going to put it out here. I have just a piece of cardboard. Now, normally I use a, what is it? I use a palette for this, but my palette is currently a little jacked up. Here's my palette right now. It's got a lot of stuff on there, and a lot of times where I've mixed this type of texture stuff on there before, so it's a little jacked, a little bit. And we're gonna add a little bit of Vallejo black paint to this, just a little bit. All right, and now I'm gonna try and mix this all up. I hope I didn't add too much. I don't know how dark that's gonna make it. Well, I can always, if I added too little, I always have the option of adding more. And I think I am going to add some more. I don't think that that's enough. I want it to be a little darker than that. Okay, let's see how that goes. A couple more drops. It's tough when you add black paint to something because it tends to it tends to darken things up. Well, brilliant observation there. But no, it really does. It's very powerful. The Vallejo black too. Okay, this is starting to look good. This is kind of getting to like a grayish brown, kind of where I want to. It's still got the brown color in it, but it is it's very gray. It's got like a death and decay sort of look to it, which is pretty much what I was trying to do. So I'm pleased. Making sure. Also, make sure when you do this stuff, this texture stuff will get in your brushes, and it will ruin brushes. So wash your brushes out quickly, or just better yet, don't use brushes that you're ultra concerned about. Like this is a brush that's on its way out right now. I can still use it for like broad stuff, but I can't use this for fine detail anymore. So I'm going to use that one. Now, I also do want to wet my brush a little bit. There's a couple of different ways that we can do this. And I'll start with Darth Vader. I'm going to start with a thin application of it. Because obviously this is a thick texture, so I can put this on in a lot of different places. But I want to get the places closest to his feet with a thinner application. Because I don't want to have a bunch of clumped up mud on his boots, right? Now I'm going to make this thicker on a lot of places on the base, but not directly on the man's boots, if I can help it. Now, if a little gets on the boots, I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with there being a little bit of, a little bit of mistakes, because there are no mistakes, at least the way I look at it. Because I like to have fun, but also realistically, he's gonna get some mud. Oh, I just got some right there. Just got a little bit of mud on the boot. He's gonna get some. He's gonna get a little bit, but I want it to be just a little bit. Like he's not a filthy slob, But he is only human, even though he's more machine than man now. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on, chat? You guys can ask questions. I'll try to get to them as I pop in. David says, "Did you get the new X-Wing YT2400?" No. Did that come out? I haven't seen, like, I haven't really seen a lot of promotional news for X-Wing, so I don't know what they're doing for X-Wing. I feel like they didn't even talk about it at Mini Stravaganza at all. If they just had a new product come out, you think they would have mentioned it. Well, no, I didn't even know there was anything new for X-Wing. So I have not done that. I'm not, I don't know if I'm buying any new X-Wing stuff. If they send me new X-Wing stuff to review, I'll happily do it, but I don't know how I feel about X-Wing right now. Li Jing Singh says, "Do you see a good reason to play both Shatterpoint and Legion, or not one or the other?" That's a great question. Realistically, I mean, it's kind of to my advantage if you guys are into both games, since I cover both games. But I'll be honest with you. I think for most people, it's going to be one game or the other. Shatterpoint's really fun right now because it's new. And it's also going to be getting a lot of specialty stuff. It's getting like the Ghost Crew, for example. So I love that, and I'm excited about that. But then Legion's also getting a whole lot of stuff too. Like Bad Batch is coming for Legion. The Clone Commandos are finally coming out for Legion. I think a lot of people are going to like the gameplay. If you like war games and skirmish games, Legion's the better skirmish game, war game. Shatterpoint's more of an area control game. And I think if you're only going to pick one, I think you go with which one appeals to your hobby aspect more, or your gaming aspect. If those are, but you may like both of them. So for your gaming aspect, obviously, like the more of the war game is more Legion. Legion, actually, you can kill people in Legion. You're not really, I mean, you can kill people in Shatterpoint too, but you don't. All right, so I've got this. I'm gonna zoom down. There we go. So you don't do as much killing in Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint's more about like just controlling the area, pushing somebody off of the area, and things like that. But what I don't want to do is get mud on the lightsaber like I just did. Now I gotta go clean that up once we're done here. Fortunately, lightsabers are easy to fix. That was a big dumb thing to do. This is why typically, if you're basing, you shouldn't be live streaming, because this is a dangerous task, and you're it's very easy to make silly, goofy mistakes like I just did in front of all of you. So you want to have a lot of focus and care and control when you're doing this sort of thing. All right, so now that I've got my base layer on, I'm going to thicken up certain parts of it. And there's a couple of reasons for this. It's not as big of a deal on this particular base because now a lot of people also use a stand or a holder, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm grabbing the cape. I'm grabbing the miniature. It might mean that I smudge some of the paint and have to go back and do it again, but that's okay. One of the reasons I want to make this thicker so I can, push things into it and it'll kind of form around them and hold them a little bit. And I also want to make sure I get around that little edge divot thing. I like to not put any texture on the very bottom if I can help it, or as little as possible, because I'll paint that probably black. I think I've been doing all of my Shatterpoint stuff in black for the rim. It's a detail when you're done basing a miniature that really it's the simplest detail and also has the most payoff. Just putting that little black ring or whatever color you're doing. Red rings are pretty cool around the base. For when I played Marvel Crisis Protocol, I was doing green rings around the base. Maybe not the best choice with green, but I wanted them to stand out in case I had like a Spider-Man versus somebody else's Spider-Man or whatever. And I'm like, no, mine's the green one. I figured not that many people would do green, but yeah. Okay, so we've got our mud on there, and now we can start doing some things. Now I'm going to start with some of these leaves. What I'm going to do, push this to the side a little. I've got this thing right there. I'll grab myself a couple of leaves and I'm going to drop them on the base like so. Well, the rest can go in there, that's fine. So that gets them kind of scattered about and they'll soak in. I can also come back with another brush and then like push them in a little more. And now I'm going to clip out some skulls. These I want to place in. I don't want to just drop the skulls in. But Vader's going to get the skulls. And really you should use like a tweezer or a tool, but I'm going to use my fingers because I don't have a tweezer handy right now. There we go. See, we got a skull there. And when it's all dry and stuff, I'll put a little bit more wash in there to give it a little extra dark into the recesses. Like maybe probably not Null Oil or an Agrax Earth Shade or something kind of like that. So there we go. That's kind of Vader. And like we can stop there. We could add some tufts. We could add more skulls or more leaves. Or anything. It's harder to do this Vader one because the base is already textured, so I'm going to move on to an Inquisitor. I'll do Grand Inquisitor now. This one, I think I'll have a little more flexibility on him because he's got a lot more open space. A lot more stuff for me to do things with. So, all right, we'll go like that. Adjust a little bit. All right, let me see if we missed any chat. So Wayward Rush says, have you ever tried doing crackle paints to make an ice base? That's a really good question. So I've used crackle paints quite a bit. Shoot, I think I have one just around the corner. I really like green stuff. Oh, this one. Here we go. I found it. I've used this one. Crackle Paint by Green Stuff World. I use that on a lot of my clones. And I love the crackle paint. Now I haven't used them to make ice. I guess you'd have to use a white crackle paint with maybe like blue underneath or something like that. I feel like that could work. I haven't tried that specific combination yet, but it's worth a shot one of these days. It's a cool idea. The problem is that my crackle paint is beige, so it wouldn't look quite right. I guess I could mix it with white actual paint, but then I'm changing the the recipe a little bit. It might not be so. Well, as I'm getting around the boots here, I put some water on the brush, and I don't want it to be too thick as I get around the boots, but I want to get that coverage. Yeah, and so this one's much more of a flatter base. You know, we can put these big raised areas right here, and these big raised areas are cool. They give it obviously texture. They'll help it blend into Darth Vader's already naturally textured base, and they also allow, you know, skulls to sink in a little bit more, or you know, tufts to sink in. Now, granted, a lot of people will glue their tufts in or have tufts that are already kind of sticky on the bottom. There's a lot of options you can use with the tufts, but I also like putting them into a texture that's wet, so it can kind of suck it in and mold around it, and then it's less you have to worry about. I've been doing this for a few years now, and my first couple, like I'll pull pieces out and play games with them, and then pieces of the base will sometimes fall off, and it's like, oh, this was an early one, you know. So it's like you also want to make sure you seal these when they're done. Okay, so there we go. We're almost done with the base coat. Now I gotta go back and, you know, fill in some spots that were missed a little bit and add some texture. Especially over the lines, you know, for this, since it's a pre-textured base, I want to make sure I'm putting it thick also to cover up, to say, hey, no, this isn't necessarily a factory typical base. This is my own creation, you know. So, and plus, when you play with people, it makes your pieces stand out a little bit more. Makes your army stand out a little bit more. Makes things come together. But I also didn't want, since all of my Shatterpoint stuff, I'm, you know, usually mostly like grass and then the lighter mud, I didn't want it to be too different. So I still wanted it to have some of that light mud in it, so it has a hint of that. Because if I may want to run the Inquisitor with clones or something like that at some point, you never know. So if I were to do that, now I can, because it'll still, I mean, obviously I can, but it'll look good to me. Okay, so we're gonna do a few leaves. We've already got some of the leaves, not as many as we did with Vader. All right, I'm just gonna drop some of those on. Okay, so we got some leaves on there. I might move those around a little, or press them down. Okay, now I got that all over my brush. All right, it's also a nice thing to have another spare small brush nearby, so you can do fun things. I'm going to use some of these tufts from Shadow's Edge. Now these are red tufts. I'm going to give the Inquisitor some flowers, but red blossoms, like blood flowers, right? I think that's kind of cool. I think it kind of goes with his aesthetic a little bit. Let me try and push that down. Doot. Cool. I like it. Make sure you're in there. Okay. I think he's kind of at a good stopping point right there. We'll come back and look at some more of these. How about Commander Pons? All right, Mr. Ponzi. Let's get you going. He's got the raised base right there, so we've got to make sure we're extra thick around the raised edge. He's one of the more difficult characters, and he's also standing on something, so. Oh, we'll give him rocks. Rocks will work well. All right. think rocks will work well with this guy. Since he's already stepping up, he's got a little captain in him. Maybe around where his foot is, so maybe I don't know if I can make him stepping on a rock since he's already on a little piece of plastic there, but we can make it look as best we can. Oh, we got a little mud on the boot there. We can put a tuft right there on the front of the boot, or just let there be some mud there. Hey, he's a trooper. He's definitely cool with getting his self a little dirty. Let me get this part as well. What's going on, everybody? If you guys haven't already, check out some of the giveaways. Check out our Discord. We've got still got the Shatterpoint or mini extravaganza giveaways going on in the Discord right now. Let those probably run until this weekend. I usually try to give people some time to get caught up and to check those out. All right, I want to put a little more on him, so I want some rocks in here. Get a little bit back by this foot. All right. All right, now the rocks I don't sprinkle on. I use a big jar of rocks. But I'll put these in sort of individually. There we go. So I did get one rock sort of right there under the foot to kind of help him look like he's standing on it a little. And I'll drop a few leaves, because I think that's going to be the common theme between this dark side sort of or this dark side theme. Okay. So he's got his leaves on his base. And he's good to go. All right. Wow, we were halfway done. More than halfway. All right, let's do Fifth Brother. This will be a fun one. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do all of them on stream today, but this might be a good stopping point. And then you guys can check out social media. And like Discord, I'll post photos in there a lot, or Facebook, or maybe Threads. I'm trying to use the Instagram stuff a little bit more to share some things. Not everything is really going to be a whole, a whole video. There we go, getting a lot of good coverage here. I did wet my brush a little bit. I always like to do that when I'm going around the feet. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. Sean says, if you want a matte finish, I recommend you apply 1 coat of gloss first. I never use gloss. I use a matte varnish when I'm done. I used a gloss once upon a time. The problem is I live in Florida, It's very humid in Florida. There's very few days where you can paint, or where you can use a primer, or you can spray. And gloss is the worst offender because it makes all your minions stuff white. I remember for Imperial Assault, I used like a gloss varnish on my figures, and like Darth Vader looked almost white. He had a light gray, almost white sheen over his whole body because that gloss varnish just sucked up all the moisture in the air. And now, granted, you don't want to spray anything when it's humid. You don't want to prime when it's humid. You don't want to do anything when it's humid. But it's even worse, I think, with the gloss varnish. But one of these days, I might try that. I might try to gloss something, but it'll be something that I'm okay with ruining just in case. It'll be a good experiment. But I don't like the way gloss looks on miniatures. All right, so he's got his base. I need to add some more texture and depth to him. He's gonna have, I think we'll do skulls with him too. He's an angry type. I think he'd be happy to have skulls. All right. Oh, I'll give him a skull right there. There we go. So he's got a skull on the base. Maybe a few rocks over on this side. Let me press those down. And then we'll do leaves. Oh, well, you guys can't see me doing the leaves right now, can you? Okay. Okay. I think that's where we're going to round it out for right now. I think that's a good kind of, it's a good place to be. Let's see how we did. I'll give you guys another look at all of these. Boop. All right. So we got the Grand Inquisitor done. We've got Commander Pons. We've got Darth Vader. We've got Fifth Brother done, and we still got to do the Fourth Sister, and then Reva, and then I'll have my Inquisitor strike team sort of almost ready. Then we'll have to do the bases and then prime them, which is a fun one. Let's see. Sean says to use rattle can varnish. Yes. Wayward Rush says, now that we're seeing more prequel era stuff, what would you think of seeing a New Republic faction in Armada? I'd love to see anything new in Armada, but yeah, New Republic would work. I don't know if they'd really be their own whole faction or not, but I mean, I could, because you've got to, or would they just be rebels? Like, I don't know. It becomes it becomes complicated. It might almost be worth kind of like saying, okay, we're going to split up. Starhawk's no longer rebel. It might require some rebalancing, a balance pass. Mr. C. Murder says, I'm in Florida too, Orlando area. Can you point me to a store with a player base for Shatterpoint? You want to buy a starter, but not to sit on your shelf. I've only been playing Shatterpoint like at the house lately, so my guess would be Coliseum of Comics. We have a Facebook group called Star Wars Orlando, or Star Wars Tabletop Gaming Orlando. So you can probably post in there to try and get games. It's definitely a thing. But I know they sell it at Coliseum of Comics, and so that would probably be the best place to try and play. Keith says, not sure if you've been watching Ahsoka, but do you think we could be seeing the new-looking Nebulon B in Armada? I've been watching Ahsoka. I would love to see some of those ships in Armada. I don't expect them to do any new plastic for Armada for quite a while, though. Do you think? I hope they do Balin and Shin. Yeah, that would be. I think that's reasonable. I think anything that you see on TV can make its way into our tabletop games, but you probably have to expect at least a year, if not two. That's my guess. All right, guys, that is going to wrap things up for today. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. And big thanks to my patrons. You guys are awesome. Y'all are just freaking fantastic. And I will see you guys later. May the force be with you.